Hi, so I'm doing the global distinction, and my project form is an anthology. So it's a collection of, I have poems, drawings, short stories, and um, what's it called? A few drawings. Sorry, I mentioned that already, didn't I? Okay, so the guidance of the hummingbird and La Guidanza del Colibri. So I'll be trying my best to do a little bit of Spanish in my presentation due to like I did my what's it called? Sorry, I'm really nervous. um, I did my anthology in Spanish and English. To start off, the title of the guidance of the hummingbird comes from a belief in Mexico where the hummingbird visits you if he has he or she has a message for you from your ancestors or people that have passed away. Usually, there's many beliefs surrounding this, and it goes all the way back to pre-Hispanic times. One of the popular beliefs are in the Mayan mythology. And son las almas de los seres queridos que visitan y el mensajero del más allá. El colibrí que es el que viene a visitar bueno, nuestros seres queridos que nos vienen a visitar. So I chose this especially because in Mexican culture, it's very important family, especially like the ones that came before us. So my aim goal with naming my anthology, the guidance of the hummingbird, is because our ancestors guide us. Every situation that you have experienced, I like to believe that your ancestors have gone through something similar, or that they at least can guide you through what is going on in your life. So again, I did an anthology. I have photographs, drawings, poems, and short stories. I wanted to do this form because I'm focused more on the sexual violence that Mexican women experience, and especially storytelling is something important. Going back to like the idea of ancestors, our ancestors loved storytelling even until now. When you go to a Mexican party or any family reunion, there's someone telling the story. And that's what keeps our culture alive, our beliefs, and what keeps us close. So, especially with sexual violence, I wanted to offer a voice to those who had either been silenced or, in a way, accustomed to not speak of that outside of the house. So, I wanted to share my poem. I'll read it both in Spanish and English. Mensajero, colibrí, 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 que te trae por aquí. Que te han contado mis abuelitas, aunque me alegre tu llegada, tu presencia resalta tu ausencia. Requiero de tus consejos, de tu sabiduría. Quiero resguardarme en tus brazos, nutrirme de tu abundancia. ¿Qué mensaje has traído para mí, colibrí? ¿Qué traes del más allá? Pequeño mensajero, guíame hacia ellas. So, messenger, little hummingbird, what brings you here? What have my grandmothers revealed to you? Although I'm glad you have arrived, your presence highlights their absence. I require their advice, their wisdom. I want to protect myself in their arms, nourish myself with their love and abundance. Little hummingbird, what message have you brought for me? Little messenger, guide me to them. Guide me where my grandmothers are. Guide me through their wisdom. So, sexual violence. So, this is the act of anything committed against the will of another person, whether or not the person has given consent or is unable to consent because he or she is a minor, mentally disabled, severely intoxicated or unconscious due to drugs or alcohol. So, cualquier acto de naturaleza sexual cometido contra la voluntad de otra persona, ya sea que ésta no haya otorgado su consentimiento o que no le pueda otorgar por ser menor de edad, sufrir discapacidad mental o encontrarse gravemente intoxicada o inconscientemente por el efecto de las drogas. So this poem specifically, I incorporated a lot of like typical phrases that how do I put this? So Mexican society has a very toxic, sometimes it's difficult to navigate in Mexican society as a woman, especially in traditional Mexican families, given that as a woman, you're right off the bat thought that you should stay quiet, that you should only speak when you have the right, or even if you're allowed to speak, you need to watch your words. So a typical phrase often used is calladita te ves más bonita, meaning that the quieter you are, the prettier you look. So I put this poem, and it's in the anthology as well. Before this story, I interviewed in total 4 women that have either gone through some type of sexual violence or any aggression towards them. Some of them live still in Mexico. Some of them have immigrated. So I'll read it. ¿Por qué estoy siendo condicionada a guardar silencio? ¿Acaso nací sin poder tener mi propio criterio? Tras los años he guardado un jarrito lleno de palabras reprimidas, palabras que han sido devoradas por la obediencia. Me pregunto, ¿algún día me podré permitir romper este jarrito? ¿Será que podré reclamar mi autonomía? Quiero gritar, gritar hasta que mis cuerdas vocales revienten. Tal vez así pueda recuperar los años del silencio, recuperar todas las palabras que se quedaron atoradas en mi garganta. Ya no quiero guardar silencio. Busco desesperadamente esa voz que algún día fue apagada con un calladita te ves más bonita. So the quieter you are, the prettier you look. Why am I being conditioned to remain silent? Was I born unable to have my own criteria? Over the years, I have kept a jar full of repressed words, words that have been devoured by obedience. I wonder, will I ever be able to have the courage to break this little jar? Will I be able to claim my autonomy? I want to scream, scream until my vocal cords burst. Maybe this way I can recover the years of silence, recover all the words that became lumps in my throat. I no longer want to remain silent. I desperately search for that voice that one day was silenced with the quieter you are, the prettier you look. So I wanted to share one of the women that I interviewed, and she offered me the privilege to write about her story. So her name is Marisela, and this incident happened in 2007 in Mexico City. So in the picture, she's really pretty and really happy. She's in the National Olympics in Mexico for wrestling. So her story, basically, she was a college student, as many of us, but and also commuted from her house to her university in public transportation. So it's a vital key to the story, because as she went home, this this one time she had the unfortunate event of encountering someone that started following her. And he started asking really intimate questions and really inappropriate comments. And she told me that that it was really scary, especially because it was 11 in the night, and also because there was no one available for her to ask for help. So she told me that not only was it an experience that really scarred her, but also that made her learn that what she was doing in wrestling really helped her, and just like take it all in as her experience, and not to defend yourself and not to let anyone turn off your light. So from all the women that I interviewed, I asked them the same question: was what's the something that, like a tip or advice that you would offer the future generation of women and girls? So I know it's really small, but I'll just be quick and read some of their things. Okay, so the first one, her name is Claudia. Um, she advises that no quedarse callada cual sea la situación, hablar porque una gente mayor les puede decir lo que está bien o lo que está mal, pero si se quedan calladas no van a saber. So no matter the situation you're in, do not remain silent, because an older person can offer you their advice on what is wrong and what is right. But if you stay quiet, you're not going to know. Maribel, aplica tus valores, es lo que hace grande a una persona. Tu pasado no define tu futuro. Know your values. It's what makes a person great. Your past does not define you. Does not define your future. Ana, no confíes tu seguridad en manos de alguien más. Do not put your safety in the hands of someone else. Marisela, no tengas miedo de defenderte. Tu grito es más poderoso que cualquier otra arma. Don't be afraid to defend yourself. Your scream is more powerful than any other weapon. Sorry, one last thing. I brought a bunch of resources that we have near the area that help with domestic violence, sexual assault, and also there's children advocacy. So if anyone needs it, it's both in Spanish and English.
Calling attention to a very important issue. Do we have any questions for Vanessa?
So some of them are family friends, and some of them are my family members. And my anthology, I also put, oh, I forgot to mention. So one of the big parts that I'm touching base on is generational trauma. So I interview my grandmother, my mom, and I put my own story, and I talked about how just it just I don't know if any of you in the audience have heard of the book It Doesn't Start With You, or It Didn't Start With You. So that's something that I really want to highlight, that sexual violence is not something that just out of nowhere it comes out. Like, it's a learned behavior, especially right now in Mexico City. There's an epidemic, well, I think it's an epidemic of violence towards women. There's a whole movement, but society, as I said, like traditional Mexican households can be very toxic at times, and it's just navigating like simple phrases like I talked about, like being quiet makes you look prettier. Like, it starts from there. It's like a snowball effect. It's not like it just appears. People unfortunately build on it.
When I was in high school, I remember reading a book called The House on Mango Street. I don't know if you've heard of it, but how would you say there's a connection between that book and what's going on in Mexico? Unless you haven't heard of it.
No, I remember that I had it my sophomore year, but I don't remember much of it. I do know that it's a different experience since the book was based on a Mexican American in Chicago. So that is a big difference. The experience as a woman in living in Mexico and then an experience of as a Mexican woman living in a foreign country.
Hmm.
Um, well, a specific author I don't have, but a book that really made me want to focus on this topic was Suffering and Salvation. It's more like a theology book, but I was assigned that book at the college that I used to attend at Dominican University, and with the mention of like that I mentioned about the ancestors and just in that class we had like it goes back to an indigenous tradition. I am not quite sure what tribe, but it was we would sit in a circle and talk about the book, and that really helped me see how also Dominican University was an Hispanic serving institution, so most of us were Hispanic, and how much that impacted us. That it was not just the problems once you immigrate, you leave them behind. People carry their trauma, their hardships, and that's why I also brought the resources that they're both in Spanish and English because obviously it's not just Mexico's problem. Our Hispanic population is also growing, so we also need to recognize that. I'm sorry, I digress.
Thank you so much. I have one last question before you go, before you're done. What's your future plans?
So right now, financial aid is being my biggest hater. So I'm not quite sure. I might just have to take a semester off since I'm graduating over the summer. But I'm considering um, I'm considering in applying to U of I or I got accepted to the University of Springfield. So I really want to go into child advocacy. So I'll either take the route as a social work major or political science.
I hope you'll continue to write.